were flourishing and billing, invoicing every month and too busy. But October onwards, I think we had the worst 4 months of our entire 2 years. And as more and more candidates or the job seekers also reach out to us are now shifting their narrative. They want to upskill, upgrade, and move towards the mainstream climate and sustainability DEI space. So that's a good shift.
Can you share your high-level thoughts with regard to what are some of the most important trends that people should keep in mind with regard to this space when it comes to the impact we are seeing from the new regimes, from the new government in the West, and that cascading down to other regions as well globally, including India?
Sure, Arjun. I think firstly, it's extremely important, like you rightly mentioned, to understand the current landscape, right? I mean, we can't live in isolation. So we have to really understand what's in and around us, how the markets are kind of shaping up. But I always feel that turbulent times often shift priorities, right? I mean, it's not always that the entire narrative is changing, but so with that, the roles and the demands would change as well. So very broadly, just to give you, I mean, because we are directly connected to hiring, that's our bread and butter. So if I look at October onwards, I think we had the worst 4 months of our entire 2 years, right? We were flourishing and billing, invoicing every month and too busy, but it also gave us a good rain check in terms of from October and November to Feb. March onwards, I've seen again a good change in terms of the volume almost being back to normal. We've seen some good level of roles coming in back. So that's a slight positive change. I'm not saying it's just turned around to the normal like it was. And like you rightly mentioned, this will be the new normal. And some of it has also given us a time to reflect that we just can't take it for granted and we have to reshape and rethink. Having said that, when I look as sustainability, ESG, or the climate space as a whole, it's still booming, right? And whereas booming is very important that we kind of connect the dots, because there will be always jobs. We just need to figure out what are the new trends. So I think the climate urgency is real, and that's driven by the regulatory pressure, right? So I think globally, if you see, we were just doing some kind of data scraping number of jobs in Europe, and there are more than 30,000 jobs across Europe in sustainability. And we just kind of went searched about just jobs, sustainability jobs in New York, it was 5,000 plus. So there are enough and more jobs yet. I mean, even in this kind of scenario.
Got it. Thanks for sharing that. So I think that structures a lot of the kind of current upheaval that's going on. Do you see any differences with regard to like all these different careers that we're talking about, sustainability, impact, ESG, DEI, from like depending on the parameters and the angles that you look at them? For example, climate versus social causes versus DEI that companies were touting for the last 5 years or so, and also the angle of public versus private sector. Can you talk a little bit more about these nuances?
Sure. So I'll probably answer that in two parts. One is very importantly that the roles might be shrinking, but certainly it's more towards the ROI driven things. People have started questioning that while we needed two people for a similar role, would this be kind of accommodated in one role? So obviously it would be shrinking. So there is still a huge potential for someone to really find good opportunities. And they also correlate directly to the ROI it generates. Like you rightly mentioned, a climate versus a social cause. While a climate role might directly have a ROI in terms of many external factors like marketing, branding, customer acquisition, customer retention, versus social causes is always an outcome of the revenue you generate, and then you put a certain CSR funds to play. So obviously that's also taking shift. And as more and more candidates or the job seekers also reach out to us are now shifting their narrative. They want to upskill, upgrade, and move towards a mainstream climate and sustainability DEI space. So that's a good shift, I think, because even till now, they would probably have not been hit back, right? I mean, they were just happy. It was just flowing. The other thing, how I look at it, Jun, is we need to look at the resilient sectors, which will still be, I mean, anything happens, there will be still a certain amount of traction and momentum there. So let's say sustainable finance for one, like I mentioned to you in terms of green bonds, impact investing. This is here to stay. I mean, the narrative has changed. Maybe it might slow down, but it's not going to, because these are all long-term instruments. They are not designed to do something which is very short term. If I look at climate tech space, that's huge. Globally, even if you look at renewable energy, circular economy, so on and so forth.
You can subscribe by clicking the link below